Japan is home to some really incredible food, with Anthony Bourdain himself going so far as to state that he would rather eat in Tokyo for the rest of his life
than any other city.
Now that's pretty high praise from Mr. Bourdain. I'm not sure I would agree with him completely, but I will say, as somebody who has traveled all over Japan for my work as an actor,
that there are many things I like about Japanese food.
And today, I'm going to be talking about the 10 things I like the most, and one bonus thing for those of you guys who stick till the end. So, without further ado, let's get right into the video. And before we get into it, let me just say, feel free to comment at any point in the video. No need to wait until the end. And just let me know what you think about the video so far, what you would like to see in the future, suggestions you have about the way I make the content, and video ideas, because I'm here to make the best possible content. So, the first thing I love about food in Japan is that it is extremely affordable compared to where I'm from, at least, which is LA. So, I mean, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But I mean, you can get whole lunch specials here for 500, 600 yen to about 1,000 or 1,200 yen, depending on where you are and like the size of what you're getting. But I like going to a place called Yakiniku Like, which is a yakiniku chain or Japanese barbecue chain. And you can get a lunch set of some really good meat with a big bowl of rice and some soup for about 600 yen. So I think that's great value. That's something like $4 in US money. And on top of it all, great bonus is that you don't have to pay any tip. So you basically just pay whatever it is plus tax, and that's it. Another thing I really love about food in Japan is that the service is just generally great. And this is true of Japan as a whole, but I really appreciate in restaurants, especially when there is great service and when people take pride in their work, because it makes the whole experience a lot more comfortable. You know, if I'm going to have bad service when I go out, I would rather just stay home and eat at home and spend less money and not have to deal with all of that. So being made to feel comfortable when I go into a restaurant is a huge point of interest for me, and Japan definitely checks the box when it comes to that. So, you know, for example, when you go into a restaurant, people greet you very nicely. They bring you warm hand towels so you can wipe your hands off and get clean and comfy. And, you know, if your hands are already clean, you can kind of just put the towel up to your face and feel the warmth, especially if it's cold in winter. That's like something that I really love to do. People probably look at me like a weirdo for it, which I am, but it is what it is. Yeah, people are just really nice to you at the restaurants, and they do their jobs and don't act like they hate it. So great, no problem there. Now, another thing that I love about food in Japan, which can be a negative in some cases, and we'll get into why that is in just a moment, is that things are extremely quick. So because of the fact, especially at lunchtime, that there are so many people coming in from work, eating, flooding out, being replaced by more people who are coming in to eat and so on, coming from these big business buildings especially, and many spots, you know, especially popular spots, just get completely flooded. The food comes very quickly, generally, and unfortunately, the downside of that is that you're also a lot of the time expected to leave quickly. So sometimes if you just hang around and you're talking to a friend and you're eating, you know, and just trying to enjoy yourself, and maybe you don't have work that day, but other people do, you can kind of be expected to leave quickly. So that's one downside of this particular plus about food in Japan. But overall, I think it's great that you can just get your food quickly when you're hungry, eat your food, and get seated quickly if you're outside waiting as well. On the whole, big plus. Another thing I love about food in Japan is that it is extremely consistent. So that applies even to fast food chains and to convenience stores known as konbinis here in Japan. If you go into any restaurant, chain, grocery store, etc., you can expect the food to be of a certain quality, and it will consistently be that quality. And if you go to the same place, it will be the same food in my experience. Every time I've gone into a fast food place, I've never been disappointed like I sometimes am in the United States when I go to KFC, for example, and they just completely smother my sandwich in an insane amount of mayo, or just, you know, fuck me up, fam, you know what I mean? Like, just completely destroy my shit. So yeah, good stuff. Gotta love Japan's consistency. I guess that's one of the major upsides of Japan having a very well, conformist culture, to say it nicely. But it works out when it comes to food, so hey. So another thing I love about Japan is, especially in Tokyo, which I believe has more restaurants than any other city in the world, I don't know if that's still the case, is that the actual variety of restaurants, maybe not like the varieties of the types of food, but more just like the different restaurant chains and individual restaurants. They're are more of them in terms of variety than what I'm used to for sure. And the turnover rate is super high here. So for restaurants. So because of that, you constantly have new places opening up and you constantly have new things to try, even within your own little sphere of living. So if you live in Shibuya or somewhere like that, especially, you might potentially have 50 restaurants within your
One block.
that you can try. And, you know, in a whole year, you probably won't eat at 50 different restaurants. So there's a ton of variety when it comes to businesses to eat at here in Japan. This one is more related to kind of like grocery shopping and the kinds of things you can find in like convenience stores and so on. But the candy variety in Japan is just incredible. Like there are so many good gummies and chocolates and other sweets that you can get at basically any store here in Japan. And I think they tend to have slightly less sugar as well. So maybe they're a little bit less unhealthy. I wouldn't call them healthy still, of course, but yeah, really incredible sweets here. So I can highly recommend that you try as many of the candies as you can when you're here in Japan, whenever you come visit or whenever you move here. This one is, it's another grocery related one. It's kind of a weird one, maybe for a lot of people, but for me, I think like most of us can agree probably that we do not like the ends of bread. And I don't know, somebody probably disagrees, but like, come on, like who the fuck wants to make a sandwich with the bread ends? I feel like I just get skimped every time I buy a loaf of bread at the grocery store in the US, and the loaves of bread are much more expensive in the US. But here in Japan, I can go to the store and for 98 yen, which is probably something like 75 cents or something like that, I can buy a whole loaf of bread with 8 slices in it with at all. It's just so nice. Like I don't want the end pieces. I would rather have an extra slice of bread on each side, and you know, just have clean material to use to make sandwiches with. Because especially when I'm making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or other things like that, which admittedly is not as common in Japan because peanut butter is very expensive, which I'll get into in my eventual video about what I do not like about food in Japan, because prices of nuts here in Japan are actually insane. But to get back on track, not having those ends makes it easy to have like just a consistent amount of sandwiches you can make, and then you're out and you go and re-up on your bread. So good stuff, Japan. Good stuff. I also really like that the prices in Japan of food have not really changed much. And I guess this is kind of more of an economic thing about Japan that I like more so than maybe a food thing, because I think this applies to other things outside of food too when compared to other places. But Japan seems to be able to maintain like very consistent pricing overall of different items. And many people would probably disagree with me on that because maybe they're a little bit more sensitive to it since they have lived here for a long time and they don't remember what it's like living in the US or other places, and have not visited their countries of origin in a while. But I think compared to the US, I went to the US recently, the prices have definitely changed in a much less dramatic way. So for example, in the United States, a bar of chocolate, which always costed $1 to $1.25 throughout my entire childhood up until I moved to Japan when I was, I think, like 23, and I'm like 28 now. I went to the US recently, and I think it was like $2.50 for a normal chocolate bar now, which is just an incredible price hike, right? That's almost double the price. Whereas in Japan, chocolates were maybe, let's say, like 90 yen before, and they're like 110 yen or something like that now. So kind of like on the topic of the whole American thing, we love our fast food. I think that much is evident by the obesity statistics, but you know, a little fast food every once in a while is not a bad thing necessarily. And the American fast food chains in Japan overall tend to be basically the same as they are in the US, which is, I think, pretty incredible given the fact that we're thousands of miles away. And the prices are actually much cheaper than they are in the US. So that's great. There are some things I really do not like about fast food here, like the fact that you have to pay for your
sauces.
And if you're not ordering a particular thing, like at McDonald's, for example, if you're not ordering nuggets, you literally cannot get barbecue sauce, for example.
But you can't just buy it anymore. You used to be able to at least pay like 20 cents and get your barbecue sauce. And be on with your day, go eat your food, enjoy your fries or whatever. But for whatever reason, people in Japan, they can't wrap their heads around the idea that some people just want to dip like their fries in barbecue sauce, for example. And
God, I'm completely off track again, but my point is, overall, it's good, okay? I know I just made it sound bad. It's good. It's good. I promise you, it's great. And the number 10 or final thing before we get into the bonus is that the fruits here are of an incredible quality. If you get fruit in Japan, it will be expensive. I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely more expensive than it is in the United States, and probably than it is in other places as well. At the very least, they make up for that with the incredible quality of fruit. You will never get trash fruit in Japan unless, I don't know, maybe you're like in some place that's way off from Tokyo where what you're getting is just a local crop and maybe the local crop sucks. The final thing I really like about Japan, which kind of ties into a lot of the other different things I like about restaurants in Japan when it comes to food, is that you can really trust that people are not fucking with your food here in Japan. Dude, I mean, like, okay, occasionally you get like some idiot who goes into like a sushi door or like a other type of sushi, like a conveyor belt sushi place, and like spits on stuff or whatever. But as long as you're not, you know, grabbing stuff off the rack, you're probably totally fine. I'm talking more about like the employees at the restaurants. They really care about what they do, like I said before. They really take pride in their work overall, and they would never ever spit in your food, fuck with the lettuce. You know, like, bro, everyone knows about the famous
Burger King foot lettuce.
you know you can trust, and you don't have to doubt, like, oh man, did this guy, like, you know, he's giving me a little bit of an attitude before. He seemed like he didn't like me for whatever reason. Did he, like, spit in my food? Why is my drink so watery? Is there, like, fucking toilet water in my drink or something? Like, you don't have to even think about that kind of stuff. And maybe I'm just crazy and I've seen too much internet shit, but, like, I don't even want to risk it. I don't even want to think about it. And I know for a fact that I've got some nasty shit in my food in the United States. Like, I had a piece of bone or a tooth or something in my food once at Taco Bell, and I've never had anything like that happen here in Japan, and I've never had any shit quality food either. So take that how you will. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. A lot of cursing towards the end. Maybe not the best. Probably gonna get demonetized if this video ever goes anywhere and I get my channel monetized somehow. But hey, let's not get paranoid. No point of even thinking about that now. I'm so far from that. But with your guys' help, maybe we'll get there one day. So remember to like and comment and subscribe if you like it. And if you don't like it, you can do the same shit anyway, because why not? And you can dislike too if you want. That's fine too. I don't mind. I just want to know what you guys think of the video, and I hope to have you guys back as well. So if I can do anything to convince you guys to come back, you let me know. Anyway, this has been Eddie with Squid in Japan, and I hope I've been helpful to you today. I hope this has been entertaining in some way, and I'll see you soon. Peace!